So, what I had in mind to share tonight, is that I finished a chanting retreat last week. Um, there was still quite a lot of energy reverberating in me from this chanting retreat. So, I thought I'd share some reflections on one of the things that stood out for me. That is taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And that is often called the triple gem. And some of you probably know this and then probably have done this multiple times. Um, and I just want to maybe just chant this Pali chant um, right now for everyone, and maybe share a little reflection about the sense of taking refuges in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And so the Pali chant goes like this: Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. And it oftentimes gets translated as, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, and I take refuge in the Sangha. And this, the typical form is to chant this 3 times. And so on this chanting retreat, we chanted this multiple times. And taking these refuges are often done formally in a ceremony when one commits to become a Buddhist, to walk the Dharma path. A teacher may initiate the ceremony, and chanting this taking refuges is part of the ceremony. And for me, when I did this ceremony a long time ago, it felt like a turning point in my life. I felt some deep sense of surrendering to this Dharma path. And so nowadays, in many Dharma centers, retreat centers in particular, I know in Insight Retreat Center, our retreat center here in Scotts Valley, California, usually at the beginning of the retreat, the group would initiate this whole retreat process by taking refuges in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha together. In monastic settings, and many lay Buddhist communities take refuges very often, sometimes on a daily basis. So what does this really mean, taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? It's quite worth reflecting. For me, I feel like I'm very fond of the Chinese translation of Buddham Saranam Gacchami, this Pali chant. In particular, the Chinese translation of Saranam Gacchami is that of return and rely. And so the Chinese version of taking refuge is something like this. And to the Buddha, I return and rely. To the Dharma, I return and rely. And to the Sangha, I return and rely. I like the sense of returning a lot. And the Chinese character used for returning gui yi, it often relates to the sense of returning home or coming back. Sometimes when someone has been staying overseas in some other places, when they go back home, and this is the character that's being used, which is this returning. So, what does it mean by returning to the Buddha, coming home to the Buddha? This orientation, the sense of returning, and to me, is that it's not necessarily going out to somewhere out there, but rather it's this turning inward and coming back right here, somewhere within us, the home of this being, of this life. And so, in this way, there's a sense of I return and I rely. It's not a pointing to something of worshiping something out there, rather something deeply inside of us. In the Pali recollection chants, and oftentimes in the monasteries, there are this form of chantings that monastics do on very regular basis called recollections. There is a particular chant around the recollection of the Triple Gem. That is, one is to remember and be reminded of the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And the qualities of the Buddha in this recollection chant is that the Buddha is the one who is an arahant, who is completely free from greed, hatred, and delusion. And he's someone who's rid of this kind of forces completely and totally incapable of greed, hatred, delusion. And another quality that's often being remembered or recollected is this term called Vijja Charana Sampano. That is one whose wisdom and compassion are in perfect harmony. So one is wise and compassionate. And another quality is that the Buddha is the one who trains those who wish to be trained. Like us, and wish to be trained. The Buddha serves to teach those who wish to be trained. So there's a sense of taking refuge in the Buddha. It's like returning home to this kind of qualities, finding true safety and security in this kind of qualities, relying on non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion to live our lives, instead of relying on, money, status, relationships, power, many things that we may rely on are actually quite unreliable in the Dharma teachings. And it's really possible through the practice to cultivate this kind of qualities. As if it's not, the Buddha would not have taught for over 45 years. And by wandering all around in different parts of India by foot. So personally, this sense of taking refuge in the Buddha evokes the sense of surrendering oneself to this possibility to become free from greed, hatred, delusion, and this possibility to be wise and compassionate, the possibility of serving oneself and serving others. And oftentimes, through cultivation of mindfulness, concentration, uh, ethical conducts, that this kind of quality began to become possible or accessible within us. And through the teachings of the Buddha, and these tools of mindfulness, the tools of cultivating concentration, the tools of abiding sila, um, can allow us to clean out the stuff that hinder the access to this kind of beautiful qualities. And this leads to maybe the second refuge, which is a refuge in and the Dharma, returning and relying on the Dharma. So, what does this mean, returning and relying on the Dharma? In the recollection of the Triple Gem, the Dharma is said to be here and now, always present, timeless, inviting investigation. And Dharma is leading inward or leading towards liberation. And Dharma is to be individually experienced by the wise. And so you hear this kind of qualities that describe the Dharma, something that's right here and right now. It's present right here. It's not found in long-winded memories or fantasies in the future. But it's something that we can touch into right here, maybe in the breath. We breathe in and breathe out. And in the sensations of the body, in the sound that's traveling through. Something that's unfolding right here, right now, in front of us. And it's said to invite investigation, invites us to see, pay careful attention to this quite a sacred unfolding of our lives right here. And it's by this form of quite deeply intimate seeing and clear seeing of the phenomenon that's unfolding in front of us, and liberating insights can arise. The insights into anicca, dukkha, anatta, that is impermanence, stress, and unsatisfactoriness, and not self. And these insights can really lead to the freedom of grasping, lead us into the freedom from great hatred delusion. And so it's through this returning again and again to the immediacy of our lived experience, we can begin to see clearly what is going on. As I was reflecting about what we usually rely on or return to, when I didn't start practicing Dharma, there are lots of external things that I'm thinking that I would depend on or rely on that would make me feel okay or feel safe. Maybe the weather needs to be good, or and the neighborhood needs to be nice, and the shelter is comfortable, and somehow one way or another family members are in harmony and our bodies are healthy enough, or maybe no one is saying anything bad about you, or no one is looking down on you. Maybe you have a good job. Lots of those kind of things that one can put a lot of efforts in to try to get them all lined up so that we can feel a sense of okayness or feel a sense of safety. But after we try for some years, maybe many years, we begin to see it's pretty difficult, right? So no matter what we do, somehow, maybe there always is someone who's not particularly happy with what you said, what you did. Um, Things are not always coming together harmoniously. So putting a lot of effort on trying to sort out all of this external uh, reliances may not really work out. So this taking refuge in the Dharma is a calling for us to look in a different way, not outside, but deeply inside of us. And also something that happens here and now, not in the past and not in the future. And I also say that um, when we follow the Buddha's teachings, cultivating our mind and heart, we don't do this alone. As I was reflecting on the vast transmission, the collection, and the translations of these teachings that came from more than 2,600 years ago, countless individuals have walked the path. Countless individuals have been cultivating their heart and mind in the past. And right now, just look at all of us here together, practicing together. And there will be this kind of forces happening in the future too. In the way, we are the direct beneficiaries of the stream and currents of the wisdom and compassion from so many people before us. I'm feeling that even in our virtual meditation hall or Dharma hall, a group of us are joining the current of the practice, the current of the sangha. So here, the community of the practitioners who practice well is a home to return to. I'm fond of this particular sutta where Ananda said to the Buddha one time that half of the holy life is sangha. But the Buddha corrected him, and Buddha said, No, Ananda, don't say that. The whole of the holy life is sangha. Because if the sangha practices the Noble Eightfold Path, you will do so as well. Isn't that true? And so if all of you are practicing Noble Eightfold Path, I will be doing this, no doubt, as part of the sangha. And so for me personally, at some point of my Dharma journey, Dharma practice journey, I had a realization that the Dharma path can't be claimed as mine, because I'm constantly influenced, shaped, inspired, and moved by people like you, and by my teachers, by the Dharma buddies, by the sangha I'm part of. And when I'm returning to the home of sangha, there is no doubt that this currents will join force and the practice will unfold, will move each other. I remember sometimes if I get caught up in the things of the world, I don't know, worldly wings, um, but when I'm entering into a group of practitioners for a sit or for a Dharma talk or for an event together, often I have this sense of coming home. There is a real sense of safety here. I can trust the collective conscience, collective goodwill, kindness, and the beautiful wholesome qualities that the sangha cultivates together. So this returning and relying on the goodness of the sangha is a real refuge, a real home. And so I wanted to maybe just feeling this chanting retreat energy. I wanted to end today's talk maybe by chanting for a few minutes on this particular chant that touched me quite deeply. And this is paying respect to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And the chant is in Pali, and it's actually quite a simple chant. And if you wish, definitely join me. And it's a repeat. So hopefully, as you follow along a couple of times, you'll be able to join in on this chant. And this chant it goes like this. So, Buddham, 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 Bhante. So Bhante means reverence or to revere. And so what this chant is saying is to revere the Buddha, to revere the Dharma, and to revere the Sangha. And so I'm going to begin, and if you like to join me, and after maybe listen a couple of times, feel free to just join along. We'll chant for a few minutes together before we end. Buddha, 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 Bhante, Dhamma, 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 Bhante, Sangha, 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 Bhante, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, Bhante, Buddha, 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 Bhante, Dhamma, 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 Bhante, Sangha, Sangha, sangha vante Buddham Dhamma Sangham Vante Buddham 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 Vante Dhamma 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 Vante Sangha 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 Vante Buddham Dhamma Sangha Vante Buddham 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 Bhante Dhamma 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 Bhante Sangha 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 Bhante Buddha Dhamma Sangha Vante Buddha 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 Vante Dhamma 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 Vante Sangha 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 Vante Buddha Dhamma Sangha Vante. Just allow the vibration to ripple through you. Thank you all, friends, for being here. Have a wonderful night for those who are in evenings, or have a great day otherwise, for those who are in different time zones. And take great care.